The apartment was nothing special, just a small one-bedroom rental on the outskirts of the city. Anton moved in without much thought, eager for a fresh start. The previous tenant had left behind an old mirror, tall and ornate, standing in the corner of the bedroom. At first, he barely noticed it, but then he began to see things. It started subtly, a flicker in the corner of his vision, a slight delay in the reflection when he moved, and sometimes, late at night, the mirror didn't show his bedroom at all. Instead, it revealed somewhere else, a hallway he didn't recognize, a dimly lit room with unfamiliar furniture, a space that should not have existed. He told himself it was just his imagination, a trick of the light, until one night he saw him. Anton had just finished brushing his teeth when he glanced up and froze. In the mirror, a man stood behind him, his breath hitched. He spun around. The room was empty. Slowly, heart-pounding, he turned back to the glass. The figure was still there, tall, motionless, half-shrouded in shadow, his face obscured, unreadable. Anton's hands went cold. He reached toward the mirror. The figure moved, not like a reflection, not like Anton. It stepped forward, closer. Anton stumbled back, knocking over the sink's cup. The moment the porcelain shattered on the floor, the mirror returned to normal. Just his own reflection. Just his own terrified face staring back. But he knew what he had seen. And he knew it was watching. The days passed in a blur. Sleep became impossible. Every time he looked into the mirror, he feared seeing something. Someone. Waiting. Then, one evening, he made a mistake. Curiosity got the better of him. He stood in front of the mirror, staring at his reflection. "Who are you?" he whispered. The lights flickered. The reflection smiled. Not his smile. Not his face. Something inside the glass shifted. The world behind the mirror seemed to stretch, distort. And before Anton could move, a hand reached out, grabbing him, pulling him through. The cold hit first. The air was heavier, thicker. The room around him was the same, yet wrong. The mirror was no longer in front of him. It was behind, and on the other side. His reflection stared back, except it wasn't a reflection anymore. It was him, a perfect copy. The double raised a hand, testing his fingers, his movements. Then, with a slow, almost triumphant smile, it turned away, walking out of the room, walking into his world. Anton pounded against the glass, screamed. No one heard him. He was trapped, and the new Anton had taken his place. It started without warning. One morning, in the lobby of an old office building, a staircase appeared. No one had seen it before. There were no renovations, no blueprints suggesting it had ever existed. It simply emerged overnight, descending into the unknown. At first, people were cautious. The security guard examined it, finding nothing unusual, just concrete steps spiraling downward into the dark. Maintenance shined a flashlight down the passage, but the beam didn't reach the bottom. Then, curiosity took hold. A few employees decided to go down, just for a look. They never came back. Rumors spread. Some said the staircase led to an abandoned basement, a forgotten part of the building's foundation. Others whispered of something darker, something waiting below. No one had answers. And that's when he decided to go down. Daniel wasn't one for superstitions. He needed logic, explanations. People had vanished. There had to be a reason. Armed with a flashlight and a phone, he stepped onto the first stair. The moment his foot touched the concrete, the sounds of the world above muffled. With every step, the air grew heavier. The temperature dropped. His flashlight flickered. staircase twisted, spiraling endlessly downward. No markings, no signs of an exit. Then, far below, something changed. A door, and not just any door. A door with his name on it. Daniel's breath caught. The door was old, its wooden surface scratched, as if something had tried to claw its way out, or in. He reached out, hesitated. Then, slowly, he turned the handle. The door swung open. Beyond it, nothing. A vast, endless void. A darkness so complete it swallowed all light. And then, a whisper. From the depths of the void, something called to him. His own voice. "Come in." His pulse pounded. The staircase behind him had vanished. He was trapped. There was only one way forward. Into the empty abyss that knew his name. The forest stretched endlessly around them, thick and quiet. The hiking trail was long behind them now, but the group of tourists, Anna, Mark, and Daniel, had pressed forward, drawn by curiosity. Then they saw it. A village. Small wooden houses with steep roofs nestled between the trees, smoke curling lazily from chimneys. It looked untouched by time, quaint, peaceful. Yet something felt off. Anna pulled out her phone. No signal. She checked the map. No village was marked here. "This place isn't on any map," she muttered. Mark grinned. "Maybe we just found something special." But Daniel frowned. Or something forgotten. They hesitated just for a moment before stepping forward. The village was silent, not abandoned, just empty. Doors stood slightly ajar. Tables were set with food, as if someone had left in the middle of a meal. Clothes hung on lines, swaying gently in the breeze. Yet there were no people. Not a single voice. Not a single shadow moving behind windows. Anna shivered. "Where is everyone?" Daniel ran a hand over the wooden beams of a house. The wood was warm, as if the place had been lived in moments ago. Mark pushed open a door. Inside, the furniture was neatly arranged, a fire crackling in the hearth. A child's toy lay on the floor, but the house was empty, just like all the others. As the sun set, the unease thickened. The village felt smaller now. The forest further away. "We should leave," Anna said, but the path they had taken was gone. Only houses surrounded them now, endless rows stretching into the night. Mark turned in circles, panic rising. This isn't right." Then, a whisper. Anna spun around. "Did you hear that?" The houses loomed closer. The sky darkened too fast. The air grew thick, suffocating. Then Daniel gasped. The windows weren't empty anymore. Faces stared from the glass, pale, watching. And they looked just like them. A chill ran through Anna's spine as she glanced at the nearest house. The door now had a wooden sign, carved into it, her name. The realization hit like ice in her veins. They weren't visitors anymore. They were home. The old dormitory had many stories, whispers among students, rumors passed down from class to class. But one legend stood out above the rest. Room 306. No one lived there. No one ever had, at least not in recent memory. The door remained locked, the key long lost. Yet, late at night when the halls were empty and silent, footsteps echoed from within. Software slow, deliberate. At first, people dismissed it as old pipes, settling wood, anything but what it really sounded like. But deep down, they all felt it. Something was inside that room, and it was walking. Daniel had always been skeptical. Ghost stories, urban legends. It was all just nonsense to him, until the night he saw the door open. It was past midnight, the dorm quiet, except for the hum of distant traffic. He was heading to the kitchen for water when he noticed it. The door to room 306, usually shut tight, was slightly ajar. A cold draft seeped from the darkness beyond. His pulse quickened. For years, no one had been inside. No one even had the key. And yet, here it was, open, waiting. A shadow flickered past the gap. He should have walked away. He should have ignored it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Daniel stepped forward and pushed the door open. Darkness swallowed him whole. The air inside was thick, stale, as if the room had been waiting. A faint shuffle echoed ahead. "Hello?" Daniel whispered. No response. His phone screen barely illuminated the space. The room was wrong. The walls stretched too far. The corners curved inward. Then, a breath, right behind him. Daniel spun around. The doorway was gone. Only darkness remained. And then the footsteps returned, coming closer. Morning came. The hallway filled with students heading to class, laughing, talking. Life went on as usual. No one noticed anything strange. Except the door to room 306 was shut, locked, just as it had always been. Daniel's name was called during roll call, but he never answered, and no one ever saw him again. It was late when the bus pulled up to the stop, its headlights cutting through the thick fog. The doors hissed open, and people filed inside. Tired workers, students, a couple chatting quietly. Just another ordinary night. Daniel took a seat near the back, slipping his headphones on. The bus rumbled forward, merging onto the highway. Minutes passed, then an hour. He frowned. Something felt off. The bus wasn't stopping. No stations, no announcements. Just the endless stretch of road disappearing into the darkness. Passengers began to notice. A woman pressed the stop button. Nothing happened. "Hey," a man called to the driver. "I need to get off." The driver didn't respond. The road stretched on and on. Restlessness turned to unease. People whispered. Some knocked on the glass divider separating them from the driver. Still, no response. Then the first person disappeared. One moment, an old man sat by the window. The next, his seat was empty, his bag still resting where he had left it. A woman gasped. Where did he go? Others looked around, confused. Had he moved, slipped to another seat? But then another person vanished, and another. Panic spread like wildfire. People rushed to the doors, pounding, screaming. But the bus kept moving. The driver remained silent. The passengers kept disappearing, one by one, until only Daniel remained. The bus was empty now. Just Daniel. And the driver. His breath came in short gasps as he stepped forward. The glass divider was now gone, though he hadn't seen it vanish. The driver sat motionless, hands gripping the wheel. Where are they? Daniel's voice shook. Slowly, the driver turned. His face was pale, skin stretched tight. His lips curled into something that might have been a smile, and his eyes were gone. Just hollow, empty sockets staring at Daniel. The bus rumbled forward, nowhere to stop, nowhere to go. And Daniel knew he was next.